Hello and welcome to Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin.
Hello, Justin. How are you?
Great. I'm doing wonderful. I actually just finished watching a movie.
Oh, you did, and I understand you watched it in my method, which was in installments.
Yes. It's a very weird way to watch this movie, but for sure. Anyways, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. This is, if you don't know who we are Playing Favorites. This is our podcast, and we have been going through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, kind of focusing just kind of like on our favorite aspects of each movie. And today we're going to be covering the second movie in the trilogy, the, I don't know, middle child, bastard child of the series, feels like, The Two Towers.
Yes.
And before we get started, though, Justin, we're something's coming down the pipeline here pretty soon.
Yeah.
We're going to be hopefully doing something really cool.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing Extra Life here coming up here soon. We'll have some more information about the details, the time, date, all that stuff. Maybe a little bit later. It could be even in this middle of this episode. Who knows? But we started Extra Life charity earlier this year. We actually raised $400 already, and we did this last year, the 24-hour stream last year. I did for Playing Favorites, but we're gonna do it together, and it's coming up here soon. So
It's gonna be fun.
Keep
Looking forward.
keep your eyes peeled.
And as always, you can find out more about us and our back catalog by clicking below if you're on YouTube, or just checking out the description of our podcast and whatever podcast listening app you use. But yeah, check us out on X. I guess I have to say it like that now.
Oh yeah, I mean, just check YouTube right now. I don't know how to do social media anymore. It feels like it's just like it's like I want to try to do it, but just go to YouTube. We want people to come to YouTube more anyway. And obviously, if you want to listen to podcasts, that's cool too.
Exactly. So, without further ado, Justin, I'm so excited. I know a lot of people don't like this movie as much as the other two, as the first and the last. However, I think there's a lot of good things that happen in this, even things that most Tolkien, religiously Tolkien followers of the books and the movies, don't like. I actually kind of do like. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get this going.
I mean,
Usually go ahead.
what else? Really quick, just to add to that, when it came out, I feel like everyone loved this way more than the original. But there's a part of me after rewatching it this time, just before we get into our favorites, because we'll talk about that too. But I think I love the extended editions of all these movies, but I feel like Two Towers gets hurt a little bit by it because it makes it feel very long to the part that you really want to see, which is the ending.
Yes.
It does kind of hurt the adding all this extra stuff, making it another almost 4 hour affair where it works great for a fellowship. I feel like it does hurt it a little bit in the second film, because you're just like, you want to see Helm's Deep. I mean, really, that's what you want to come see.
Yeah, you want to see Helm's Deep in all these. It's like from the first movie, a lot of elements were kind of building in a crescendo to like the opening shots of the war, of this War of the Ring. So yeah, a lot of people. I mean, it's been a while since I myself had watched the extended edition, and I did the same thing as you. I watched it in like 3 parts. It's very episodic, though. To its credit, like you can kind of watch this movie because it is so character driven. You got Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. We get introduced to Gollum in this movie. Then you have the three, the great travelers, Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, and Merry and Pippin, and they're kind of like their divergence, and then eventually, kind of coming back together, and place setting, seeing more of the world. That's always cool. But I mean, I know you had a couple of surprise questions. I don't know when you want to litter them in, but if you're holding back, that's okay.
I'll hold back. We'll hold back. But you're about to say what we normally do with this here, so go for it, and then we can do our first favorite.
What's up? What we normally do? What?
Yeah, just I interrupted you. We're about to you were describing how we normally do this. So we go through we have our list of favorites and so forth. I guess I could do it since I'm already saying it. So.
Well, the first one up here is we're going to talk about, at least for the first thing, mentioning, since we have a lot of new characters, it's a good point to start. Justin, who is your favorite character in this film?
I want to give this to you first because I kept taking your answers in the last episode. So
Okay, good.
I want you to answer first, at least on this one. You can give it to me later, but you can take it first, so I don't steal it from
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. Excellent. He is one of my favorite characters in the books, in the movies. I think he's portrayed exactly almost as I had pictured him in the books, and as the character of Theoden, King of Rohan.
I knew that's
Uh,
what I was gonna pick.
and
How do you
I
not?
remember like 1,000 years ago when I was in a class about Tolkien, that the professor had asked us to go around and just like name which group you would like to be a part of, like who, like what, if you were a person in Middle Earth, like where would you want to be? And I would always, like, the first thing that came to mind is like, I'd want to be in Rohan. I want to be a member of the Rohirrim. I want to be like, it just seemed like such a cool, very like Anglo-Saxon, old kind of, sword and sorcery type of location. It just, it's very Viking-ish, it's very Norse inspired. But I love Theoden's character because when you find him, he's this decrepit old man,
Yes.
with worm tongue poisoning in his ear, and just like feeding him all this terrible stuff, and worm tongue's a puppet of Saruman. So, and that transformation when Gandalf like draws Saruman out of him, and he finally like returns to himself. Like really, this movie and the next movie, a lot of it is Theoden's story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a subplot that I always love, and in some instances, I've watched some people have done like Theoden supercuts, where it's just his journey, you know, dealing with the death of his son and heir, and really like the end of his line. Even though his nephew, what's his name, Aemir, would take it on, it's still like his heir, the boy who was going to be king, is dead, like right at the beginning of this.
Yeah, and
And
he wasn't even aware of it because of how poisoned he was. I mean,
like,
I was gonna give the same answer just to chime in. His decisions and choices that he has to make as king. Like, Grant, we're following Aragon, and that's like, I'd say Aragon is sort of like just aimlessly going through this movie for most of it. Like, he doesn't really know what to do with himself except for just find things to do. Like, he doesn't really have a direction. Like, but then we could talk about maybe like his ending a little later, maybe if you want. But like, he is aimless, and once you hit Theoden, you then get more direction of what their journey is, because then you're just sort of following Theoden and his the way the actor delivers and takes that kind of pain of losing his son, realizing the faults of being poisoned by worm tongue, making this choice to save his people. And like, honestly, like, one thing I want to say about Theoden, like, I feel like he makes all the right decisions and everyone's telling him to do something different. Like, he loses just he loses like a little bit of hope once in a while, and there's some side characters that kind of bring him back up. But his idea to go to Helm's Deep, I feel like, always made sense to me. Where like Gandalf and Aragorn and all them, like, oh, go out and fight them, just go get them. I'm like, no, Helm's Deep was probably a better idea because it gave them the time. But I don't know. That's just my thought on that. But
and really, it's like a matter of days too, from when he's basically like comes out of this coma,
mm-hmm.
and is himself, until like when he makes the decision to go to Helm's Deep. And Aragorn wanted him to do what he eventually does in Return of the King, and that's call the banners, gather all your forces, and let's meet Saruman in the field. And he's still like grappling with the death of his son, realizing just how terrible things have gone,
Mm-hmm.
and like waking up from a nightmare into almost like a worse nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
because when Aragorn, not when he meets him, when there's the part where the wargs and Aragorn get separated, and that gives you the chance, or gives the viewer the chance to see, like, okay, Aragorn makes contact with the army from Helm's Deep, the orcs, the Uruk-hai coming from Helm's Deep, and he's got a really good way of counting. I don't know how he does it, but he's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and he's like 10,000
Yeah,
or
I
what
know.
is it, 15,000?
I just,
Like,
I just a little. That's the scene I just watched. Was like I started there. Like when I ended last time was him like seeing them, and it's like it's an army of 10,000. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you could just like do like multiplications. Like, well, I see a row of 10, and I see a column of 500.
do you know that meme of like the woman with the math going around her?
Yeah.
I just picture Aragorn's face in that. He's just like the square root of this times this and denominator and 10,000 and like he's got a grand entrance and he tells him,
It was actually only 6,000, but then he just made it. He just rounded up to 10 just to make it sound scarier than it really was.
yeah. And you know what? By doing that, he forced Theoden's hand. Theoden's like, fuck this, we're going to Helm's Deep. Like it backfired. But you know, like his whole journey through this movie, um, some of my favorite moments are with him. And yeah, he does lose hope. He does have a bit of hubris, a little bit of pride, as they're all standing and watching this, you know, moving sea of Uruk-hai coming at night, and the rain starts. And in the very beginning, it seems like, all right, this is all you got to throw at us. Like we can handle this. We can handle this. And then you can't handle it anymore. And just like the look, Bernard Shaw is the actor. He's such a great. I've never seen him in anything else, but he's such a great actor because you could just picture exactly what he's thinking. Just the look on his face, the look of surprise, the look of despair, and then at the end, like that look of like, I don't know if it's hope or just like, I'm not going to go down without a fight. That like resilience in the end. Like I owe this to everybody.
I love that line he gives.
There,
yes, for
yes,
glory and whatever. But no, like there's one line
glory.
that he gives Aragon that like really kind of like explains the turmoil. Like, well, I guess turmoil or just like the weight of being a king. It's
choice. Yeah.
Well, no, it's the line where he's like he's trying to like get everyone excited to defend Helm's Deep, and Aragon is like, you can't do this, you can't win this, and he's like, what do you have of me? They're I forget the line, but it's like it hangs by a thread. I can't remember what he says.
Their courage is hanging by a thread.
Like it's like what do you have? What do you want me to do? Just lie to them? Like I can't. Like I have to. Like yeah, I could just be honest and say yeah, we're not going to win, but like we might as well just go out and give them an end worth fighting. Like like that ending of like of bravery and just sacrifice and pride. But then he wavers towards the end, like when he knows it's lost, he almost gives up, and then he pulls himself back. I just love, again, like it's so hard not to pick King Theoden. It's acted so well, like it's such a great new character. But I guess I want to like I'll add my other answer. I guess would be Faramir. I mean, honestly, I love the adaptation of Faramir. I like how though it's so drastically different from the book. We've talked about that in other conversations where. In the book, he's just so happy-go-lucky. It's like, yeah, hey Frodo, what's up?
Good luck.
But I do like Faramir, and then I think his like that setup in this movie kind of helps even more in the second movie because you get the backstory, which is great. I think that was extended edition with
so much of that. Yeah, the relationship between him, Boromir, and Denethor, their father. I felt like you needed that. Like I still kind of, I know it's a flashback and people are mixed about flashbacks and stuff to tell the story, but you really understand who he is as a person just because he is the youngest and he's always been kind of, had it dumped on him by his dad and seeing it in actual real time or in this flashback, it really drives it home. Drives home like what kind of person he is. Like he still tries to do his duty, still tries to, follow orders and make things right where he can. But he's dealing with somebody who clearly does not like him at all.
Like in that flashback really kind of helps his character so much more. That flashback character thing. Well, because you get the line like show your like a chance for Faramir to show his quality. Which is a line they use later on a few times, and I think if you don't have that, it doesn't really hit as much. But like, I like Faramir's depiction. I like how they make him, and I've the adaptation of them going to Osgiliath and them handling Faramir the way they did. Initially, I didn't like it. Like initially, I was not a huge fan of it. But the more I've watched this movie, the more I appreciate it more. and the more it kind of gives a chance for Frodo to show how it gives a chance for us to see even as Frodo too how hard it
Yeah.
really is to do this just journey. But like Faramir, I think was probably like I would say close. The other one would be maybe Eowyn. I kind of like Eowyn too. Would be a little
Yeah,
would have been a
she's really
little
great.
little. I like her, especially what it ends up being with her like later on. I might even save that for next time we do this. But
Yeah, no, seriously, she's a
um,
contender.
but I think Faramir kind of like is wins it for me just because of the fact that it's not taking it from the book. It's adapting it and changing it, and it's a very unique take on him versus just a carbon copy of what Tolkien wrote.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not like it's unprecedented. Aragorn is very different in the movies than he is in the books. Like,
Sure.
why wouldn't you want to adapt that character instead of being, like, you know, the way that Aragorn was, like, this Anglo-Saxon kind of hero, like Beowulf, like boasting about what they're doing, and Faramir, like you say, happy-go-lucky in the books. No, they're fighting when you actually put it on screen and you see the kinds of battles and you see Osgiliath and you see just how very tenuous it is for them to even hold half of the city.
Yeah, and you get the
Of course,
flashback.
it's going to affect
In the
the kind
flash,
of character he is.
the flashback helps with that too, because they just
Mhm.
won it back. Like you
They
didn't
just
know.
got it back and he lost it.
Like
And
literally,
that's all
like
Denethor can focus on.
what a few months before, because what that Barrymore goes on of his journey like right after. I mean, I don't know how the timing works because I mean, maybe he went, but roughly a few months. I mean, I guess maybe before they would have won it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But no, I love Faramir. I love the flashback. I like his like building relationship with Frodo, even though it is. I think it gets dragged out a little bit. There is points when I'm watching this movie,
it
like
does.
I almost forget that Frodo exists for a little while. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Frodo, he's doing that thing. I forgot, like because you're spending so much
Uh,
time with Rohan and Merry and Pippin and da 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 da. Like it's like I almost like every time I get thrown back into Frodo's journey, I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I forgot about that. But I still like Faramir as a favorite character.
I
Um,
mean, that's a big choice, and we can talk about this when we talk maybe about settings or later. But like the choice not to go to Cirith Ungol to where Shelob is in this movie,
I've come to terms
to
with
leave
that.
it there.
I
That's
hated it
I,
initially, but I love it now. I think it
and
made
I
sense.
because really Frodo and Sam's story is not as long, or there's not as many like action beats as the rest. You've got
Yeah.
all this place setting to do. If you had that in Two Towers, like what do you start with in Return of the King? Like what do you how do you get people? I mean, do you leave it with Frodo being like webbed up and Sam thinks he's dead and then he's taken to the tower? Like, is that how you end
I
the
always
movie?
thought that'd be a good cliffhanger, like initially. But like I my perspective, you read the books way prior. Like you've read all three before
Yeah,
you saw the
yeah, it's
movies,
been a
right?
while.
I didn't read the book before I saw Fellowship. I literally just finished reading Two Towers, then watched the movie. I had yet to read Return of the King yet. So my
Yep.
perspective is so weird. I was so like so. I personally was like, oh man, I love the ending of Two Towers in the book. It like
Mhm.
it made me want to read the second one. But to be honest, I feel like they did such a good job with the films. Now that I've watched it a few times, I'm like, it's still there's no difference. You still want to see what happens. Like
Sure.
there's
Yeah,
no change
Frodo's
there.
storyline, yeah, Frodo's storyline is still the main storyline, really. Like you're
Yep.
following the ring where it's going. I remember so many people just getting upset over Osgiliath and him going back there. And I love Sam's line. It's like a nod to it. He says, "We're
Yeah.
by all accounts, we're not even supposed to be here." And
Yeah, I
it's
love
like,
that
yeah,
line.
yeah, we get it, we get it.
So I have a question.
But
One of my surprise questions for you. So
lay it on
since
me.
we just talked about characters, right? Our favorite character. What is your favorite pairing of character? Like, because a lot of like this movie, I feel like you're not really with a group of people anymore. It's like you got Merry and Pippin, you got Legolas and Gimli, you got Aragon and Theoden. Really, you got Gandalf kind of does his own thing. I guess he doesn't really join anyone, but Frodo and Sam obviously. Like, what is your favorite like kind of like duo of conversation? Like your favorite pairing of characters? Kind of hard to
I
answer
can
there.
already I can already think of who I would want for the third movie,
Okay.
but um For this one, honestly, I think it would be Legolas and Gimli
Yeah, they're
on
fun.
the battlements of Helm's Deep, you know, where he's like, "You could have picked a better spot." He's like, "Would you like me to get you a box?" And he just like looks at him and laughs at him. That you know, because still at the end of the first movie, they're not friends, you know, by any means. They kind of just like agreed the three of us are going to go off on this journey. You really start to see their actual friendship in this
Hmm.
movie, and them, and like when Aragorn gets pissed off at Legolas, which Legolas starts the circle of despair, I must say.
Yeah.
You know, it's him, and he
I,
if one of those people actually understood Elvis, they'd be like, "The hell, dude! Like,
well, you
what are
don't
you
even need to
saying?"
understand the language. It's like that
Look at them,
conversation is just like,
they're
yeah,
scared.
yeah.
Yeah, like such a dick. But um, and in that moment when like Aragorn storms off and Gimli's like, "Let him go, lad. Like, let him go." These are like the seeds of their friendship really forming, and their you know contest when they're fighting the Urukai and counting how many, and the count afterwards. It's fun. I think they're my favorite. I think that's. I
Well,
mean, Mary and Pippin are great in this too.
that's my favorite. I love Merry and
Yeah,
Pippin in this because like they're I actually really enjoy their story, like their journey, like
yeah,
and the way it's presented, like because you got the whole like detective Aragon trying to figure out what happened at the battle and. Like I honestly would love a game like that. Like, oh, just being a fantasy detective, like going around, like, well, the tracks lead here, and like, I love the way they did that. That was really cool. But no, I like the whole Merry and Pippin, like they the sense of humor, meeting the ants, obviously. The even like the extended edition stuff where you got them trying to battle who's taller. All those things because they're drinking the
mhm,
water and all
yes,
that
and
stuff.
drops.
And just
Yeah,
and I got again just the fight that they both start having. It's like they want to still have a point in this story, which you don't think they really do, aside from kind of like pulling Aragon and Legolas. But then once they feel like they're okay, like what is Merry and Pippin left to do? Well, destroy Isengard. That's like their whole goal is to help destroy Isengard. It's like I love that their pairing and their kind of like I guess relationship and
it
how it builds.
matures.
Yeah.
It changes with Mary really because Pippin is the one that's like, we get to go home. We have the Shire, and that's when Mary is like, I don't think there's going to be a Shire if we don't do
But
something.
then Pippin's the one
And
that gets them to go to the right direction, right?
he gets the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is Mary is older than Pippin. And so you do get that like he's a little brother, like, come on, Pippin. Like that's in the third movie too, when he's like pushing him around a little bit. And you do like it is Pippin growing up, and it is Mary. Mary is like in the process of waiting for the Ents to have their, you know, Entmoot and have their conversation of whether or not they want to go to war. Mary's the one that's like pacing back and forth, and it's Pippin who's like dozing, like, all right, when's this going to be over? Mary is already kind of growing up,
He's too hasty.
and he is too he is too hasty. All right, well, speaking of Ents, things like this, the things of that nature, and Merry and Pippin's action at the end. Justin, what's your favorite fight from this movie? What's your favorite battle
It's so
sequence?
hard because it's like
One
you
fight,
have like a big battle at the end, right? Like so it's like
and it's
what
awesome.
yeah, like I mean it's like how do you like I guess you could pick a skirmish within
A
that
part of it, if
fight
you like. Yeah, I mean, it's a long battle. It's
because
a
like you don't
long battle.
I'm trying to think of like where like what stands out to me. I mean, the wargs are fun, but then when I rewatch it, the more and more I watch, it's like okay, it's all right. It's quick and easy.
Yeah.
I just like I guess like okay, this is what else my answer. Then I was thinking about this earlier. I just had to remember it was the shot where Gimli and Aragon jump onto the bridge and
Yes.
like
Yes.
not even just like the comedic part of it, but like I love the shot of them just like hopping on the bridge and somehow like killing everyone and knocking them off and just
Such a
knocking them
narrow
out.
thing,
I do have
but
a
it makes
runner. I do
sense.
have a runner up if you don't bring it up, but like that is definitely my favorite. Just it's such a fun little thing where they're just like, "How much time do you need?" Well, as much as you can give me, and they're like, and then he just
Yep.
throws them, and they just start falling off the bridge, and it's such a
Yep.
cool little shot. Like I guess that would be my favorite part of that battle would be that.
It is a cool moment because it even in like movie logic, it kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, they made it over there. It's a narrow, you know, kind of bridge, you know, that goes up, like that like curves around to that door. And he's like, we can just hold this, the two of us. You know, they're clearly skilled warriors. It's just so funny. It's like, yeah, how long could they do that for? And then Aragorn says, like, get out of there. Or Theoden tells him, get out of there, Aragorn.
Yeah, and he boards it up as he says it.
Well, that's the whole point. It was just like giving us enough time to bolster this door up.
Yeah, but then like 30 seconds later, the thing comes down anyway. So it's like...
True. I will just add on to that. I love that part when Theoden is helping lead the defense of the door.
Yeah, that's good.
And, you know, stabbing. You get a little bit more Theoden's action in the extended version. And then you get the spear, like, hand me a spear. And, like, the spear comes through his hands to stab.
Well, he gets hit. He gets hit right in the breastplate.
But I love how that immediately inspires all of his men. And that's the kind of king that I like. And what makes me like Theoden is, like, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't just like directing the battle from a high up place. At one point, he says, he's like, we're going down to the door. Draw your swords, like, to his guardsmen and all that. And that's the kind of person you want in charge. Someone who will stand right by your side. So yes. I'll tell you my favorite part of the fight. There's many fights at the end of the movie, but my favorite actual battle is the Ents versus Orthanc, the tower. You know,
this tower right behind me if you're on YouTube, that tower.
I love it when they start just throwing rocks at it. You know, like that whole part, and Saruman like coming out and like doing his Christopher Lee is so like awesomely emotive, just like I didn't plan for this, and cleansing the filth from Isengard away.
Well, you got the one ant that gets. I remember being in theaters, and the one ant gets on fire. And everyone I think was worried, but then everyone I think everyone got excited, right? Like when he like saves himself, I'm like, oh, he didn't die, good, yay! Yep,
that got everybody worried. Like that when the orcs jump on him and start chopping, and then you know the one guy gets catched on fire, gets caught on fire. Yes, I do. I remember that moment so clearly. I don't know if it got a pop in the theaters, but it was definitely just
I think a group of people. I think the group I was with, they were like around me. I saw from friends, and they were all like, "Yay!" Like, but I had a runner up. Like, I want to do this runner up.
What was it?
It's when we kind of talked about it when Theoden comes out with the horses right at the end with all the armor, like, and they're running down the little path. That again, they're just knocking people off. Like,
yeah. When they come down that causeway bridge.
Yeah, like it's such a cool shot of like just the horses just barreling over people. It's like, just keep doing that. Like, you know, just like then like after you've done a few, just back up, you know, and then let them come again and just go back down. Just keep working your way through.
And when the first time you see that movie, you know that like Aragorn like sees the light in the window and you hear Gandalf's voice like on the dawn of the third day, look to the east. But you're not sure. The first time you like watch it is just like a cinema experience. You know, like, okay, like, well, what does that mean? Like, what's going to happen? And Theoden makes that choice to like, let's go. And yeah, you see them like coming down. That is such a cool shot. And just like the maw and like the endless amount of Uruk-hai. And there they are, just like a wedge driving into it. That whole moment's really emotional. Like it really works. In a lot of ways, you know, in some ways you could say it's a more emotionally impactful than even the third movie. Like when you get to the like final battle.
But it's just such a the music is like a perfect cue. And then just the shot of it is really cool. Like, I mean, it's just visually like the light over the hill and all that stuff. Like it's really good.
All right, Justin. I'm going to throw this one back to you.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear who your favorite enemy in this particular movie is. Also, just to keep in mind, I want you to think about who maybe might be your favorite orc or Uruk-hai.
Is it two different answers?
No, it can be the same one, but it could be either an orc or an Uruk-hai. But it cannot be a main character. You know, it's got to be.
Oh, so I can't say I can't say Gollum as an enemy.
Oh no, for enemy, yeah, I meant for orc, like favorite orc.
I love Gollum. Like I love Gollum. Gollum's great.
Gollum.
Okay, not Smeagol. Gollum.
Not Smeagol. Gollum. As an enemy, yeah, he's tricksy, as he says.
He's false. No, I mean, I've watched it on my nice 4K TV, and like you start seeing the aging of the CGI, unfortunately. but still, it still holds up really well. You know what I mean? Like
Does.
it still looks believable. You still it doesn't look like he's just a fake character. Like you still like
Yeah.
they do some really good shots where it's like when the one shot of like Golem when he first meets what was it Frodo and Sam when they kind of like sneak up on him, like he kind of crawls down and they grab him,
Yes.
like just the
Yes.
way the hands touch each, like it looks like they're actually grabbing something. Like it looks
Yeah.
really well done. Like that part looks great. I mean, yeah, like the effects, like as far as CGI stuff, but it still has a sense of like, um, you know, you see the emotion on Golem, like the whole like the way they did the camera back and forth. Like if you just take the information from the text, like you can kind of get all that stuff, but the way they adapt it to screen is
Yeah.
really, really well done. And I think and Andy Serkis is just obviously no one knew who he was. I think when Golem came out, it's crazy how that's how he started his acting career. I mean, as far as mainstream goes, I don't know what he did before.
And really, like, he brought a physicality to it, his like the voice of it. And because it wasn't like, here's a CGI character that we're going to superimpose into this, let's use a stunt double. The fact that he himself in that goofy costume, you know, the
Yeah,
goofy
no, I know.
mocap costume, is there just taking, you know, taking these scenes with Frodo and Sam. And yeah, I know exactly the part you're talking about where they kind of like pull him back and forth, like they're just trying to hold him. It really feels real. Like, and yeah, of course you can see the age of the CGI a bit, but there are some moments that they don't usually use in CGI characters where you just have Gollum with this like expression on his face, like
Mhm.
towards the very end when they're in Osgiliath, and Sam is giving his little sort of sentimental speech to Frodo, and like of Gollum just kind of like looking like it's like hopeful, but then like despair, all at the same time. It's like you can read emotion on him.
Yeah.
It's not he's not just some gobbledygook CGI character.
Oh no, it's
He's he's a real fleshed out enemy. He really is like
yeah.
an enemy that
Well, it's an
you
enemy
thought you could have.
you feel sympathy for. It's not like the Eye of Sauron, you know. It's like
It's
you
literally an eye made of fire.
know. But I mean, like you kind of feel like I feel like you give more sympathy to Golem in the film than you do in the books. Like the books, you're just like, yeah, you don't trust him. You're kind of more like a Sam, I guess, when you're reading the book.
True.
But where the film, like you just get such a unique perspective of him, and you kind of feel bad, like the whole thing with Faramir, how they changed that, right? It's like that scene gives you even more sympathy to Golem with him in the forbidden pool, which I don't understand. Why can no one go swimming in the pool? I don't get that.
It's not that it's like some sacred pool. It's just like that is like the edges of their hideout.
Hmm.
And if somebody was to chance in there,
like what? Like
they
what's
would.
so special about that pool? Why can't he go swimming?
I know the way that he says it too. He's like, "Those who enter the forbidden pool may not live." I'm like, "What is he, Galadriel?
He's
Like,
just getting some fish. Jeez, like
seriously? Just give him like 10 minutes, he'll be gone."
like that's the only thing. It's like, I mean, couldn't they have done a better way to handling this thing? And then maybe Gold would have been a good guy the rest of the time.
That part, yeah, I do that a lot. I think of how Sam could have his actions could have been different. How that whole thing with Faramir could have shaken out. I really wish that that Frodo had just been honest right from the get go
Yeah.
and said like, "He's our guide. He's a terrible creature, but he's bound me and he's my guide. Like he's one of us.
Hmm.
But he can't do it. He feels like it's going to betray it. It's a difficult situation.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, they just kicked the shit out of him too. Like, and
They're kind of
that
mean.
was that was really sad seeing just like Faramir's men like really like mess him up,
Well,
and
because he
him
was.
crying, and then the Gollum in Smeagol coming back and
Yep.
saying like Smeagol,
We
just
just
weeping.
saw the villain get vanquished by Smeagol, right? Like a few, like maybe 20 minutes prior. Like so, it's like to us, like Golem was gone. Now you have Smeagol, like just getting some fish. Like he's
Yep.
fine.
And you get those like the Dead Marshes scene where he pulls Frodo out, you
Yeah.
know, don't follow the lights. He's really it's turning into something more, but Sam can't see past it.
Nope.
Sam didn't learn the same lesson that Frodo did, Bilbo learned, and that Gandalf like reinforced. It's like you shouldn't be, you shouldn't suspect, or you shouldn't want to kill Gollum. You should feel sorry for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of sympathy, that pity for Gollum is what, was what started to turn him, was what
Yeah.
started to actually give him perhaps humanity, habitanimity back, or he's like some kind of river folk guy, whatever. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, definitely have to mention Gollum here somewhere. Um,
What's your
I'll
favorite
tell you
enemy?
my favorite enemy, Saruman. Love. I just every time Christopher Lee is on camera, I just can't
Was that your favorite? Was
not.
that your answer last movie?
No, mine was the Balrog.
Oh, that's right.
And
We
then
agreed.
and
We
then
agreed on that.
well, yeah, well, because you stole it. No, no, we agreed on it. And then I had Saruman as my like runner up.
Oh
But
man.
truly, I have no other enemy in mind for this one than Saruman, because you get to see just the lengths which he's willing to go, how he's really like sold his soul to the devil, that kind of, you see just how far he's pushed it and how like arrogant he's become. And I love his scene when him and Wormtongue, after Wormtongue comes back to him, and he tells him, he's like, but that'll take an army of
Ten,
thousands. He's like,
10,000.
tens of thousands. And he's like, but my lord, there is no. And then just like with a little wave of his hand, it all goes silent. Such a cool scene.
You know what makes that scene even like better? It's the
What's that?
tear on Wormtongue's face. That I love
Yes,
that tear so much.
yes.
It's so
Is
good.
it because he's
To
sad?
war.
Is it because he's sad, or is it just like the wind and like
No,
like his
he's
eyes are
overwhelmed. And like here's the
yeah.
thing, how did he not notice his army outside? Like it's not like
They
like
were underground. They were underground. That's the only I did I had the same question myself too when I first saw it. I'm like, how did he not notice the
how
tens
do you
of
not
thousands?
hear them? Like I mean, come on. When he asked the question, they're like literally like a minute, like 30 seconds away from the walls. It's like how do you not hear that many people out? I don't know. It's just funny to me.
Plotting.
I have a lot of questions in this film.
It is, but I mean, he's in a lot of great moments, Saruman. He had a lot of great moments in the first movie and even more so in this one. And then you get to see his downfall, really, like the things that he betrayed, the Ents, nature, the forest itself, come calling. It's kind of Macbethish, like the forest literally marches on his tower.
What's crazy is
And,
that in the original releases, like this would be the end of Saruman. Like we don't see him again in the regular. Like like that was it. Like you don't. He's just stuck in his tower. Like that's
yeah, I think they mention it in the beginning of the is it in the beginning of the third one when they come, they're like, well, let's just have his head and be done with it, and Gandalf's like, no, let him be.
yeah
The end.
yeah.
Like, and
Well,
Saruman.
before we take a break, I want to say something really quick because you just brought up something I completely forgot that was in this movie. Because it's like again, I watched it like a week ago with this whole way.
Okay.
I'm changing my answer to favorite fight.
Oh, what is it?
The fight between Gandalf and the Balrog.
Oh yeah, that's right. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Ian McKellen, like 70-year-old Ian McKellen fighting the Balrog.
On the highest peak on the lowest dungeon. What does that even mean?
And they show it. It's
Yeah.
like they start down low and then they're up high again. Like
I went through
that's all
water
for a long
and
time.
fire. It's like the most like cryptic way of describing a battle, and it's like they somehow pull it off. I mean, it makes sense. But the shot of
Well, they
Gandalf
showed
just
it.
like awakening, like sort of like upper body naked, is such a weird shot to me because it looks so kind of more fake because the beard doesn't look right, like with his like shoulders. Like I don't know, it's weird, but I love the
I
fight.
like how because Ian McKellen's eyes like are kind of mismatched a little. It's not like a perfect two blue eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, nice touch, nice touch. Listen, I got one more thing before we go. I want to know who your favorite orc is.
Oh,
We
that's
can
right.
take a break after this, but I want to know who your favorite orc is.
Well, I'm gonna say one because I feel like can we just both agree this is the best one? Because I know what your answer is gonna be. I think.
Oh, do you?
Can we both
Okay.
know? It's obviously the torch-bearing orc, like right, like
Yes. I put the Olympic orc torch runner.
yeah, he's obviously the best orc. I mean, come on,
Oh yeah, he is.
it's just so well. But
He took
I have
two
other answers.
arrows straight down. But
I got two other answers though.
please.
One is he barely is in the movie. He's like very very barely in this movie. It's like when he asks, like when he's like, when you're in Isengard, there's this goblin that's like checking over the Uruk-hai, like grabbing him by the throat and like putting his chin up, like examining. I
Oh
don't know.
yes, checking his teeth. Yep, yep, yep. He's like the like orc inspector. He's like,
yeah, it's like he just expression is just so weird. And then it's the one in the Merry and Pippin group where he's like it was like there's two of them in there that are kind of trying to eat them, but it's the one that's like, yeah, where's the meat?
Oh, that's my favorite. Damn it! Yeah, why can't we have some meat? Oh my gosh, that's Kristen's favorite orc in the whole trilogy. That dude. We say that to each other all the time. It's like like we're gonna make some steak. Like, yeah, why can't we have some meat?
There's so many good orcs in this.
And the other one who tried to eat Merry and Pippin, who was just like, what about their legs?
Yeah.
They don't need those. I love that dude too. All right, why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and we'll talk about some more of our favorites from the Two Towers. Hey Justin, it's fall. Doesn't something usually happen around this time of year?
It usually kind of gets dark at night.
Daylight savings time.
That's right. But there's actually a really cool thing that happens on daylight savings time, but you didn't get to experience it last year. You want to do it again this year?
I would love to accompany you to the Extra Life fundraiser. Can you tell me a little bit more about it, since I wasn't there last time?
Yeah, so it's a 24-hour event. This is actually like kind of a worldwide game day for Extra Life. It's kind of like the last push to raise money, children's hospitals across the world, globe, country. So we're just using this last day to kind of hit our goal, and we'll be streaming it live for 24 hours straight.
Yes, we will. We're going to get pretty nutty with our gaming and just hanging out. So it's going to be fun. We hope that you'll join us for that stream. Again, that's going to be Saturday, November 4th. And we encourage you to donate. Help support us supporting local children's hospitals. It's a great cause. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're back. All right, Justin, I've got a few more questions here for you. Before we get into some of the more like serious questions, I just want to know, what's your favorite like moment of comic relief in this? We don't have to spend too much time on this, but like, where was a moment intentionally funny, unintentionally funny, just something that gives you the giggles? It could be those orcs talking about eating Merry and Pippin's legs and eating meat. But what do you think?
I mean, anytime Merry and Pippin are on the screen, I tend to laugh. Like, I don't really have a specific moment, but like, you know what? The one thing that makes me laugh, I think, a lot is just the shot in Helm's Deep right before they're starting the battle. And all the orcs are lined up, and everyone's got their bows and arrows ready to go. And then the old guy just lets go, and the orc just like falls down, and everyone then all of a sudden, you just got all the orcs just screaming.
Like, I like how like everyone on both sides is surprised, like, whoa, what the hell happened?
Like the old man just like, oh shoot, just like, like
dude with a missing eye. Yeah, pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That makes me laugh. That makes me giggle.
Mine is Merry and Pippin. It is not even really funny. It's just when they're on the backs of the orcs or the Uruk-hai, like, running away from Aragorn and giving Legolas. And Pippin is like, my friend is sick. He needs some water. And he's like, thirsty, is he? Well, let's give him a drink. And they give him like from like the orc flask, and it's like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like the orc liquor or whatever it is. Like, I don't know why they don't like, let's give him a drink. That's another great line. Just great line delivery. All right. Well, thank you. There's a couple other comedic moments. And I think they're going to come up here.
I like the other one. I guess I'll bring up too is like when we talk about Merry and Pippin being like trying to be eaten by the orcs, and then the one orc dies, and like they're like, meat's back on the menu, boys.
Oh yes, that guy's great.
But like the effects of like them eating him is just like a bunch of just organs just flying around, like.
Yes, they're unwrapping Christmas presents.
It's like they're not rationing very well. Like the people in the back don't get anything. Like it's not very fair.
But they eat all the orcs. The Uruk-hai basically eat all of the orcs that met with them. They just like those orcs from the tower or from Minas Morgul, I guess. I don't know where those orcs are coming from, but they just eat them all. So I think everybody got a full belly that night.
Gotcha.
All right.
Then they died.
Yes. In a really cool way. That's a cool skirmish too, the night battle. But anyway, in terms of settings, places in this movie, new locations, a lot of new locations. Which one was your favorite? A lot of cool like structures, you know, whether it's realm of men, realm of the orcs and goblins. What do you think? Who's your
Um,
favorite place?
I mean, it's hard not to say. Well, Helm's Deep is cool, but I honestly like Eridus. Is it
Edoras.
Edoras? Like, there's just
Edoras,
so
yeah.
many. Like, the whole section is so like the shot going up to it. They found. I love like the just like the behind the scenes conversation
Mhm.
about that. How they
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
scoped around for hills and they built like a city pretty much there, which is kind
Yeah,
of
in this like
neat.
super windy, like
Yeah,
crazy extreme temperature weather place. Yeah, it's so cool.
I just love how they present. I say it wrong.
Edoras.
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 Sorry.
It's Ed.
But like they get
Edoras.
such a like a scope to it. Like there's a shot that really shows it. It's like they do. I was like really appreciating it. It's like when Erwin like runs out after being like sort of like assaulted by Wormtongue, and like the flag flies off and then
Yep.
lands outside. Like
Yes.
that was such a really like it's such a small thing, but just like adds such a unique kind of like scope to it. I guess like the time and place. I don't know. I just love the shot of it. Like it's so cool how like they go up and they even all the interiors like inside the you know well, I guess you want to call it
The hall.
the hall. Like everything
Yeah.
about the Edis is great. And I just think it's such a unique. Like just going into Rohan too is cool. Like just how Rohan looks. Like it looks so drastically different from all the other places we've been. Like just like the way the fields and kind of hilly they
Yeah.
are, right? You know, but yeah, I really like that shot the best probably.
It totally you immediately understand that this is like a horse, you know, horse and rider kind of culture, just from the way that and it's very Viking-ish, Norse-ish, you know. It is
Mhm.
cool. It's super
And
cool.
and then even like the graves they have like all the flowers
Oh,
kind
the
of
mounds. Yeah,
mounds.
yeah,
Those are really cool, and they got some really good songs there too.
yeah. Don't, not yet, not yet. Um, my favorite, and it would not, and without the writers and Peter Jackson, it would not have happened. It's Osgiliath.
Yeah.
I love seeing Osgiliath because you don't really get to see a whole lot of it in the third movie. It's more like the abandoning of Osgiliath. But I love the extended edition scene where you get to see it with you know with Gondor having won it back. That whole like the night when they're no wait that didn't happen yet. When the Nazgul comes and attacks
Hmm.
Osgiliath, like you you see it's like a ruined city, but it looked like it could have been so cool.
Hmm.
That's what I love. Like you see the architecture of what like ancient Gondorian, you know, architecture was, and like how it's all like in ruins now, and they're just fighting over stones. You know, it's just a cool place, a city like divided by the river like that, and I was just I was glad to see it. I because you know when you're reading the books you have like this you know picture in your head of what certain places look like, and a lot of the detail was very similar to what they put in. It was like
Hmm.
this was once the crown jewel of Gondor, better than Minas Tirith. Like this was the city, as Boromir says, of music and art. This was like Renaissance Italy for
Hmm.
Gondor,
It looks
and
so much. It looks so much nicer in the flashback than it does during the battle. Like the battle looks like
yeah,
more
just like a
destroyed.
little bit.
You know what I mean? Like, and I have to say, like, one thing I'll add to that one flashback scene is that beer does not look that good. Like it doesn't look that delicious. It's just a bunch of foam and there's no beer. They
Oh
have
yeah,
ale.
nobody knows how to pour. They just like brought these in on horses. And it's like, can I wait for mine to settle first? You gotta have a little bit of foam in the beer, but not. It looks like it's all foam. Yeah, they're just drinking straight foam. All right, very good stuff here. Um, I don't know if you want to go first, if you want me to go first on this one, but
I have a
favorite
question.
weapon.
I have a
Oh,
question before we do this because we talked about
okay.
Rohan. And I've been meaning to ask this question to you, and it's not really a surprise topic, but it's more of a put on your Tolkien hat that you have. I know you have one somewhere. Um, why why does King Theoden and everyone in Rohan accept Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn so open armed? I know they know Gandalf. I get that. But like I'm watching scenes throughout like their whole journey. They just get there. Obviously, they beat everyone up to
Mhm.
save the King Theoden. But then they're walking in the procession for the funeral. Like they're
Yep.
like it's almost like they're part of the like High Council
They're
all
in
of a sudden. And
They're in a
like
place of honor. Yeah.
it's interesting how fast it happens, and then like even when Aragon's gone, like it looks like Gimli and Legolas just have this high standing suddenly with like they can like granted like Theoden like takes a little bit like offense to Aragon like confronting him, but like
Yep.
they're allowed to be part of the conversation. They're allowed to be part of the decisions. They're allowed to be part of all the inner conversation. Why are they suddenly like hold in held regard all of a sudden just because they brought King Theoden back? Is that the reasoning?
Part of it is that for sure. Gandalf vouched for them, and they know who Gandalf is, and obviously, curing the king and getting rid of Wormtongue, they're like heroes of the city. However, the bigger thing, and you wouldn't know unless you watch the extended version, because I don't think it's in the full version, is when they're talking about Aragorn's age, when when they're
Yes.
walking to Helm's Deep, and Eowyn is asking him, like, you can't, like, 80 years old?
Yeah.
And she said, like, I heard a crazy thing, but my uncle says that he knew you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you fought in a battle, I forget, against, like, I don't know if it was orcs or what. They like some
that's
battle
right.
from the
So
past.
when she says
And,
uncle, she means the king, and I guess
yeah.
I forget that connection.
And
Okay.
and she's like that, like it says that you fought with it, but you couldn't be that old. Like, and he's like, actually, I was, and your uncle King Theoden has a great memory because he was only a boy back then. But Aragorn was in the like, I think before they were just scattered rangers, they were like the army of the north of Arnor, not Gondor. Like the northern kingdom was Arnor before it fell to the Witch King.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they they were like not necessarily royalty, but Aragorn was like I don't even want to say commander or a leader in that battle. So he already has this prestige.
Okay.
And once he says, "I'm Aragorn, son of Arathorn," and even Theoden, like they never have that moment. They should maybe have had like some moment where
Yeah, it's more of just
Theoden
like
recognizes him.
a weird thing I noticed. It's like, why are they all of a sudden just like involved in everything they're doing? Where like when they first came in, it's almost like no one knew who they were except for Gandalf. So it's like
Yep.
I was just curious. That's all. But
There is this connection between Arnor and
makes
Rohan and
sense.
like those armies and like their fight against the Witch King. And this it is just like a place of honor. Like,
Gotcha.
here's a guest now. They're not just like, but that's also like an Anglo-Saxon thing. Here's this person who did this huge favor for you, now becomes a guest under your roof. You always put them in a place of prominence. They always sit at the table with the king. They always march in these processions in a place of honor. Yeah, so some of it is like their history, but also like that culture too of like hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
guest rights, that kind of stuff. All right, do you want to talk about weapons?
Yes,
Did you
good.
have one in mind? What was a favorite weapon of yours?
Can I not use a weapon and say? Can I talk about armor?
Sure. I was going to say like anything that's like used in war.
I love King Theoden's armor. Like I
Mhm.
love his armor so much. It looks so good. Though King Theoden's like his expression looks kind of funny in the helmet. Like it just doesn't like. I think you notice it more in the second movie. It just doesn't like look right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look as cool because maybe because he doesn't really have like a brown beard. I don't know, but like. I love his armor. Like I have to say, there's a lot of cool weapons in this, but like every time I look at that armor, it's just like so well, like what's the word you would say? Like embroidered? I don't know what you would call that. Like it's like
crafted. I don't know.
Like,
yeah,
it has like a really cool like markings on it, and like just the gold plating, the way it's like kind of like designed on it. It's just so cool, especially when you get definitely at the end when he's on the horse. Like that shot looks because like now you have it in like daytime, so it's like. It's like kind of lit up more, and you really, really see it. Yeah, I love his armor like a lot. It's really good.
And his armor and his horse's armor match, because they revere the horse so much too. So the king's horse has armor, and the way it's dressed is like also really cool, and you can pick him out of a crowd really easily. Oh, good one. Yeah, there's a lot like, and especially if you look at even his personal guard, and then like the soldiers. Like you can clearly tell he's the king. Like this is, but it's not like super ornate. Like he couldn't fight. It's still like fighting armor.
Yeah, it's just
that is what's cool about it.
Yeah, I love it. It's good.
Nice one. Mine is the siege weapons that the Uruk-hai use. I just because in the books again, there's like they with great ladders and siege weapons. Like it's never really like specifically detailed like how they get over the wall, except ladders, ropes. but you can clear, like, I love the ladders that go up and then clank down and like lock into place, like on the stone.
I love how
I
they're
love,
riding it too when they go up. That's
yeah,
such a cool shot.
that's a cool one. And when they finally get, when they send the big like ballista arrow, like metal
Yep.
arrows, and then pull up these massive like jungle gym ladders
Yeah.
onto the,
Yeah.
I like all the siege weaponry that the Urukai used was really cool. I just thought it was like a cool way of, in a sort of realistic way, like you would storm like a, what would be an impenetrable fortress, like how
Well,
you would have to do it.
and as I said, I just finished watching the movie. This is the part I watched was Helm's Deep's battle, and I the whole time I'm appreciating like, okay, they had like three different sort of attacks they were doing. Right, they had the ladders, right? They had the
Mhm.
bomb to break in one way, and then they also have to
Yep,
worry about the door. And like, I
yep,
love how
battering ram.
the orcs are just like hiding underneath the shields and all that stuff.
Yes.
Like, and I love how Aragon's like, go that way, no, shoot that way. Like he just
Yep, yep.
like that shot's so cool.
The bridge, and then like Legolas, bring him down, bring
hmm
down our Olympic torch runner.
I love, and they bring him down, but
Oh,
I love how he flies in there, like because then you have like
yeah, he just
the
drops.
bomb too. Like the bomb is great. Like I mean, I don't know what they even call it. Like they just call it a weapon, right? Like they
Yeah,
don't really call it a bomb, but it's just like a
and
magic
it's like
thing.
what, like proto dynamite, you know? It's, and you see like Saruman just like pouring these little black pellets into them, and Wormtongue with his flame coming closer, like, what fire can break stone?
I
And
do
it's
find
like
it funny. It's like he's
you
holding
to
a
really start
candle, and
to
then like, well, you can see fine. Like you don't need the candle.
I know. And I love Saruman just like grabbing his hand and just like moving it very slowly.
Yeah.
All right, all right, okay. We got a couple more things to cover here before we go.
So surprise topic, fun question for you.
Oh, sure, go for it.
Uh, favorite random Legolas moment, because there's plenty in this movie that are just completely random. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he just does
Yeah,
random things. I'll start just to kind of get you ready to go, because I know this is the thing I know is in the first half of the movie. Like, and it's more just a commentary at how they presented like Legolas's lines. It almost like he's like has a GoPro or like some drone, and he like is controlling it to then yell in the screen like it's like they run and like this. He looks into the camera and like tells everyone what's going on as he's running. It's like these like really funny shots of
yes.
like they're
Oh,
just,
that,
you know what
I
I'm
hate that tracking shot. Yeah, I know
like.
exactly.
It's like
It's like
they're
they run as if their master's whips are right at their best. It's like, who talks like that and runs?
I know.
I guess elves. Like,
Like I just like every moment it's like he's running or doing something and it's like he has to like say something to the camera. He's not talking to anybody. He's just saying words.
and that's where you get one of the best memes of all time. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard, to Isengard. Oh, one of my favorite of all time. I'll tell you my favorite weird Legolas moment is at the Battle of Helm's Deep, after the elves come, and it's this like, you know, courage boosting moment where, you know, Legolas and not Legolas, what's his
Har
name?
har with an
Uh,
H. It's an H, right?
Halamir,
I don't know.
Halamir, something like that. When he comes, sent by um
Elrond, right?
Elrond and Galadriel. Yep, like they come. Great moment. Not in the books,
Yep.
but still a great moment,
Yep.
and makes sense story wise for what
Yes.
you're trying to set up
Yep.
for the third movie. But when they're all like aiming and getting ready, and Aragorn's like hold, and he's about to say fire, Legolas, you know, to no one in particular, is just like in Elvish, is like their armor is weak at the, what is it, at the neck, under the arm.
It's only going to help like the two people next to him. That's it, right? Like
He's whispering it, and it's like, oh, okay, thanks Aragorn, or thanks Legolas, thanks a lot, really appreciate it.
well, then
Gimli's like, what is he saying?
obviously the one moment that everyone probably remembers is I was like really kind of like critiquing it this time, like when he does the whole shield down the stairs thing. I'm sitting there
Yeah.
like, why does he even need to do that? Can't he just stay up there and just shoot people? Like why not just stay on the top of the stairs?
Justin, he can't walk downstairs fast. He can only skate downstairs fast. It would have been, but I the only thing I like about that is how he flings the shield that he's riding down
Sure.
into the neck of an orc.
Yeah.
Like that's, and then another cool one where he just like takes the arrow out and stabs
Yep.
somebody
Yep.
before he takes it and shoots it. Those are cool moments. The actual skating down with the music in the background, always, I'm just like, ugh. But well, let's talk about music here. We've got music and then our favorite moment. So May I
Go
go
for it.
first on this one?
Go for it.
My favorite music in this movie. It's so like moving. It just like it floors me every time I see it, and I literally like spit out liquid the first time I heard it, and that's Aowen singing the funeral song, the extended edition.
Bello. We're gonna get like copyrighted for singing it.
Only two notes. Only two notes. Oh my gosh, it's so startling. It comes out of nowhere. It's like very like guttural, like I don't know, Anglo-Saxon singing. Wah, wah.
It really is just the cut, and like this time I was more ready for it, so it didn't like get me as much.
Doesn't land as much once you know
But
it's
like I
coming.
think the extended edition affects it too. Like it gives you a little time to prepare. Or I feel like in the original. Oh no, it's not. That's right. It wasn't in the
Huh.
original. That's right.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I was appreciating, I guess, the actress's take on it more. Like she sings
Yeah.
it very emotional, like as if someone had lost someone loved. Like she like does give this weight to it, like this like shaky kind of a emotion to that
Yeah.
singing. Like
For sure.
she does a great job with it. It's just I think the editing doesn't help because it's like it just takes you so off guard. And then of
You
course,
needed like a couple seconds on her and the women around her before you shoot it. Like they're it is like the way that it's kind of edited, that scene in particular, that could have been not as unintentionally hilarious
well,
to
'cause
us as it was.
you have this like procession, right? And everyone you think like your body your mind just like during a funeral, like you just think, oh, they're just gonna like have a shot of a procession, sad
Nobody else
people,
is singing. Yeah.
yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like her looking sad, not looking like she's in any kind of position to sing. Like usually you would put someone on like a pedestal or like separate, maybe give him like a microphone. Like I don't
It's really
know.
the panning is what, you know, isolates her and then do it. It is startling at first, but I do like the little details of like the women, the older women around her who are like singing it too, but like mouthing it, you know, like they're clearly in pain. Like it certainly feels like a funeral song without knowing anything about this culture. It's like you get a lot just from
Mhm.
how they're burying the prince, you know?
And then right
But no,
after you get another funny moment where you get a really close up shot of a flower.
I love that. You know, it is such a weird shot too, but it grows on me the more
Yeah,
I watch it. I always, again, maybe it's because I know it's coming, but now I can like appreciate it as a scene instead
sure.
of just
It was
like,
so when
ah,
you
flower
same here. It's
on
like
screen, especially when you
yeah
see it for the first time in
yeah.
theaters. You're like, the hell?
My favorite music. I don't. I'm so bad at like humming the music in this for some reason, but I love the musical cue of the last March of the Ants. I love that
Oh
whole
yes,
section. Like I
yeah,
love how like it builds up. I think it's just chanting little song, like
yep.
a lot
There's
of
like a
chanting.
flute somewhere in there too.
It's
Yeah.
just like the build up to it, the conversation, the moment, like all of it going together, like kind of blending in with the Battle of Helm's Deep too, right? Because I think it's all kind of
Mhm.
like connected, but like
Yep.
just that his response to what he sees when he comes out and sees all of his friends in a sense dead and destroyed, and then just like the kind of like the slow build up of the music as he's like something's happening, I'm calling, we're going to go to war, like like
Yep.
and then when they say the title from the book, like that gets me, like the last march because that's the
Yes.
title, right, of the chapter, the last march of the ants.
Yep. Yep.
I love that music so much.
It is,
Really.
and it's such a like that's why I like that particular fight the best too, is because it is very emotional, and you get another cool guttural noise of Treebeard screaming, you know, and in that
Yeah.
scream, he's able to communicate to all the Ents in Fangorn that we've been betrayed, we're going to war. Like all with just like one giant like
They
primal scream.
they
It's
get there
cool.
pretty fast. Like I have to
Yeah, they
say,
do.
they're like right there. Like how did they get there that fast? I feel like they don't move that quick.
Unless like something like this happens.
Yeah,
Like
I guess.
I feel like the moment is what makes it.
Sure.
And that's why Pippin's plan was so
How
like
did Pippin know
what
that was happening? That's what I never understood. Like how did because they never were near Isengard, right? Like how did he
but
know
they
they're destroying it?
well what's his name? Treebeard was telling him that he's had a mind like Saruman's got more of a mind of machines chopping down
Oh, it's
trees. Like
true.
he does mention it to them. And so I don't know if just like it clicked for Pippin to be like, well, let's go just see what Isengard looks like.
Yeah.
maybe that will inspire him. I don't think he had any idea how bad it was going to be,
Sure.
and I don't think either of them realized how that they were going to get not only the result that they wanted, but more
Mhm.
out of the ends in that.
Hmm.
All right, man. This is good stuff, man. This is a good movie. People that try to like, put this movie down as the
I
worst of
don't
the
know.
three.
I guess I don't
It's
know many people that
like
don't like.
taking
Who doesn't like this movie? I don't know many people that are
well,
against
people
it.
always rank this one on the bottom.
Well,
And
I
I
do
think
I do too though. That's the
the
thing.
they're like three different jewels. They all have
Yeah.
their own
Yeah, it's
facets.
like you have if you only have 3 movies, it's like how do you pick I mean, it's kind of hard. Like you can't one has to be on the bottom even if they're all great, right? It's like
They all be great,
yeah, it just
and
takes
we all just get along.
I think just rewatching it has diminished it for me. I think like initially I actually like Two Towers more than Return of the King, but like
Mm,
rewatching now, like I'm excited to see Return of the King. That's our next thing we'll do because there's a
I'm
lot of
really
things in it.
excited to hear it.
Like the whole
Yeah,
journey through it is great. Like where this one, it's like when you first saw it, not extended. First seeing Helm's Deep, it's like it's up there. It's like wow, it's great. But like
mhm,
the more I watch it, it's like all right, I just want to get to the ending. Like a lot of the beginning stuff, it takes a lot of time to get there. That's
yeah, it
all.
does. All right. Well, out of this movie, what would you say is your favorite moment, Justin? Which did you feel like
We've talked.
was?
I feel like we've talked about all the best moments already. It's
I
so
know.
hard.
I'm just
Um.
gonna say it. Ride
Go.
out with me.
Oh,
Come on,
that yeah,
Justin.
it is one of the
Ride
best
out
ones.
with me.
Yeah, it is. It is one of the best moments for sure. Um.
I'll I'll take it and run here for a second.
Go
I'll
for it.
just say
Go for
like
it.
that is the most emotional part of the movie for me. Every time I watch it, it just gets me because in that moment of despair, Theoden is like he's like it's no use. The fortress is lost, and Aragorn is like he's trying to like keep him you're like let's try to get the women and children out, and it seems like Theoden's just like giving up. And when Gimli says the sun is rising, and Aragorn kind of like sees the light, and he kind of just lights that little bit of fire. And when he just tells him, "Ride out with me," it's like he's speaking Theoden's language right there. He's
Hmm.
saying, "We're gonna die. Let's die on our own terms. Let's go out in a blaze of glory." And that's exactly what Theoden needed to hear in that moment, and that's what rallies his men, what's left of them, to this last fight, and delivers them to see Gandalf and the Rohirrim come and save the day. That whole sequence, man, I get choked up when I watch it
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
good.
so.
It's hard. It's hard.
so
I might counter. I'm not gonna counter him. Why am I saying it like that? I'm gonna counter your answer. I actually like
No,
I like this.
interrupt.
I like the setup of Helm's Deep, like the beginning of Helm's Deep,
Ooh,
like just like it where like they march up, they're all lined up on the wall. You got Theoden just like like looking all see with his like second in command, like kind of behind that shot. You see it all the time with him just like looking out into the world. Aragon like giving commands, like the rain starts to fall, just the visuals of that whole
the
it,
sound design on that is awesome too.
the silence. Obviously I mentioned the humor of the guy hitting,
Yes.
but like it's just like him
Yeah.
saying so it begins, like how like it's just that like man, we're about to do a fight. Like it is such a really good way to start it. Like you're ready for it, you know what's going to happen. Like you hear 10,000 people as a viewer, it's like, well, how the heck are they going to survive this? Like, how are they going to do this? I mean, yeah, you got this gigantic wall, but
Yep.
like, it's the anticipation, and honestly, just the how they display the orcs. Like you got the one guy on the rock, like like leading them in, like with his sword,
Yep.
like
Yep.
they're breathing out of their masks, like
Oh
it.
yeah, the steam coming up.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it.
it's like complete monsters are waiting for you.
I,
That's
I
they do such a good job of
I
that.
like it, and then like you have, and then like really the beginning of that battle, you can lead into that like where they're just sending arrows, and then the valley of arrows that comes over the heads and hits
Mhm.
everyone. Like there's so many cool little visuals and shots of that beginning of that. I mean, you can go on and on. The whole Battle of Helm's Deep is great, but like I love that intro, um, like
It
a
is
ton.
great. It like that moment when he says, "So it begins." It really is like that is the halfway point of these three films.
Hmm.
You know, these are like the real opening shots of a war for like humankind versus Mordor. of the world of men versus the world of orcs. It's finally, it's starting. Now it's starting. And that's what like Pippin and Merry realize too. They say it like when they're being carried by, when they see the Uruk-hai, they say like the war, it's starting. Like our friends need our help. Like now is like the real beginning of the end. And yes, and just to like wrap up here, Justin,
Sure.
I am so excited to watch the third one. I love the third one.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
love them all, but the third one I think is still like the crown jewel. It's got just so many cool things happening in it at once. Really fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
Looking forward to it. Definitely. Well, awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it makes me want to go watch the end of this movie again now.
The ending is great.
It is.
It's such a good. But no, I'm looking forward to the next one. Again, thanks for watching our take of reviewing, I guess, the Lord of the Rings. The next episode will be Return of the King, and we'll see what happens after that. I'm Justin.
Paul.
Thanks for watching.